He's not just preparing to act, he's preparing to suffer. Jonathan Roumie has just revealed what it's really like stepping into the most painful chapter of Jesus' life, and it's nothing like anyone expected. Forget everything you thought you knew about The Chosen. Season 6 isn't just a continuation, it's a confrontation. A spiritual, emotional, and physical test of everything that's come before. And what Roumie is going through behind the scenes may be even more intense than what we'll see on screen. Season 6 of The Chosen isn't just another chapter, it's the storm gathering at the edge of everything. For 5 seasons, we've walked with Jesus. We've watched the miracles, we've laughed with the disciples, we've seen hope take root in places where it never existed before. But now, that hope is being tested in a way that will change everything. The story's entering its most brutal, most sacred territory, the final days of Jesus. And Jonathan Roumie, the man portraying him, has stepped into that reality with trembling hands and an open heart. What most fans don't realize is how much this season is demanding, not just from the cast and crew, but from Roumie personally. He's not memorizing lines. He's not rehearsing like usual. He's surrendering, fully. He's pushing his body through physical training to endure the beatings, the weight of the cross, the sleepless nights of filming under cold skies, and that's just the surface. Behind the scenes, he's battling something deeper, an inner journey of faith, exhaustion, and obedience. Roumie himself admitted he's had to strip away layers of pride, fear, and control just to make space for something bigger than acting. He's asking God to take over. He's begging for the strength to get out of his own way. And it's not just talk, he's living it. In a recent interview, Roumie described how he's preparing spiritually just to survive what's coming. He said this isn't just about portraying Jesus, it's about honoring him. Feeling the weight of every betrayal, every lash, every nail. The pressure is real, and it's crushing. Not because he doubts the story, but because he understands its cost. The cost of salvation. The cost of stepping into the most sacred moment in human history and trying not to get in the way of its power. And yet, he's still showing up. Still praying, still pushing forward into the dark. Creator Dallas Jenkins isn't softening the blow either. He's already warned fans that Season 6 will not be family-friendly. Not because of gore, but because of truth. Because the crucifixion isn't just a Bible story, it's a brutal, emotional collapse. It's betrayal, it's agony, it's the unraveling of everything we've come to love over 6 seasons. And Jenkins has made it clear, he's not pulling punches. He said, "We don't need to show what Mel Gibson showed. We've built emotional connection. That's our tool." And he's right. This time, the pain will... We've spent years getting close to these characters. We know their doubts, their fears, their growth, and now we're about to watch them fall apart. Not because they're weak, but because the weight of what's coming is too much for any human to carry, except one. And we know what happens to him, but this time, it's not just about what happens on the cross. It's about what happens in the hearts of everyone watching it, including us. Roumie isn't just preparing for a performance, he's preparing for a transformation. And that journey, his journey, is what's going to shake viewers to their core. Because when he steps onto that set, bruised and broken, under the weight of the story itself, he's not just acting like Jesus, he's emptying himself, so Jesus can shine through. Jonathan Roumie is not exaggerating when he says this is the most intense role of his life. What's happening behind the scenes of The Chosen Season 6 isn't just challenging, it's consuming. For the first time since the series began, the pressure has gone beyond the demands of a production schedule. This time, it's spiritual, it's emotional, it's deeply personal, and it's testing Roumie in ways that go far beyond lights and cameras. He's described it as a burden, beautiful but heavy, the kind of weight you don't carry unless you absolutely believe in the purpose behind it. And that's what keeps coming back in everything he says. Purpose, not performance, not recognition, not even success. Roumie knows this season is sacred, and he's treating it that way. He's said over and over that the only way he can make it through is by staying close to God. By surrendering control. And maybe that's what's so haunting. He's not pretending to be strong. He's admitting how broken this process makes him feel. He's asking for prayer, for strength, for the ability to keep going. That honesty has changed the tone of this season entirely. And while Roumie is walking through this fire, so is the entire team behind the camera. Dallas Jenkins has opened up about just how intense the production has become. Season 6 is scheduled for 86 days of filming, nearly 3 weeks longer than any other season. Why? Because they're refusing to rush. They're filming the crucifixion at night, entirely, over multiple nights. Imagine the emotional toll of that. Night after night, capturing the darkest moments of the story while the cold sets in and exhaustion piles up. But they're doing it for a reason. Jenkins knows these scenes can't be rushed. Not because of spectacle, but because of truth. They're not filming this to entertain. They're filming it to honor something sacred, and that shows in every decision they're making. Slower pacing, longer takes, more silence, more space for the weight of the story to breathe. And the cast feels it, deeply. For Roumie, each night on set is a battle between the demands of the role and the vulnerability of letting go. He's not trying to control the outcome anymore, he's trying to disappear, to get out of the way, so that something more honest, more divine can take over. He said, "If I'm not trusting God, I'm not doing it right." That one sentence says everything, because it means he knows that portraying Jesus' suffering requires more than talent. It requires surrender. And that's exactly what he's giving. But even for a seasoned actor like Roumie, surrender isn't easy. He's had to prepare in ways that no script can teach. Long before the cameras rolled, he began physical training. Not to look good on screen, but to survive the physical demands of the crucifixion scenes. The beatings, the weight of the cross, the strain of hanging there for hours at a time. This isn't makeup and special effects. This is endurance, discipline, pain, and underneath all of that, faith. A constant, quiet prayer that somehow this work will point people back to something greater than a show. And what's maybe most shocking is that Roumie isn't the only one feeling it. The other actors, those playing Mary, Peter, John, and the rest of the disciples, are preparing to fall apart on screen. Season 6 isn't just about Jesus dying, it's about his followers breaking, losing him, watching the man who gave them everything be torn from them. And they're not handling it like fictional characters. They're living through it as people who've spent years in these roles, who've come to love these characters, who feel the weight of what's coming as if it's real. Because to them, it is. That's what makes Season 6 different. This isn't storytelling anymore. It's a reckoning, a mirror, a spiritual test for everyone involved. And maybe that's why this season already feels different before we've even seen a single frame. Because the pain isn't being acted, it's being felt. Every tear, every scream, This is what happens when a cast and crew stop trying to entertain and start trying to honor something sacred. And as we inch closer to the moment of the crucifixion, there's one thing Roumie wants us to remember. He's not the star of this story, he's just the vessel. And that vessel is being broken so that something greater can come through. The closer we get to the crucifixion, the more it feels like everything is unraveling, not just in the story, but behind the scenes. Season 6 of The Chosen isn't merely pushing boundaries, it's erasing them. The barrier between actor and character, between script and soul, is vanishing. And at the center of it all is Jonathan Roumie, stripped down, spiritually exposed, and standing at the edge of a moment that could break him. What he's going through isn't theatrical. It's not dramatic in the Hollywood sense. It's raw. It's lonely. It's crushing. In one interview, he confessed that he constantly asks himself the same haunting question. How am I going to get through this? Not the filming, not the production, but the experience. The internal storm of portraying the Son of God being rejected, abandoned, tortured, and killed. He said he's been praying more than ever before, not just for strength, but for closeness to God. Because this isn't about getting the scene right. This is about allowing himself to disappear, To become empty enough that what the world sees isn't Jonathan Roumie in costume, but Jesus, suffering in silence, choosing love anyway. And this is what makes Season 6 so terrifying and so powerful. We already know how the story ends. We know the betrayal is coming. We know about the trial, the scourging, the cross. But The Chosen is making us feel it in a way we never have before. Because we're no longer spectators. We're participants. We're watching through the eyes of those who loved him. We're feeling the confusion of Peter, the heartbreak of Mary, the fear in John's silence. We're watching the light leave their world in real time. And Dallas Jenkins has promised that he's not going to clean it up. He's not interested in making this season safe. He's not sugarcoating anything. In fact, he said flat out, it's not family friendly. But that's not because of violence. It's because of the emotional devastation, the rawness, the truth. This time, we don't need graphic images to feel the pain. We've spent years building emotional bonds with these characters. We know them, we trust them, and now we're about to watch them break. That's what makes this different from anything that's come before. Jenkins has said they're not relying on gore, they're relying on connection. And that's why it's going to hurt so much. Because this time, when Jesus is taken away, we'll feel the loss. Not as viewers, but as people who walked with him, just like the disciples. And for Jonathan Roumie, the weight of that truth is very real. He's not trying to perform pain. He's trying to live inside it, to let it sink into his bones. He's fasting, training, praying, wrestling with fear and fatigue and surrender. He said something recently that speaks volumes. There's been a lot of self-sacrifice in order to bring my idea of how I want Jesus to feel and look for Season 6. And that word, feel, is everything. Because this isn't about appearance. It's not about angles or camera tricks. It's about the emotional weight of the sacrifice. It's about the love that held Jesus to the cross, not the nails. And Roumie is doing everything he can to let that love show up through him, even if it breaks him in the process. And make no mistake, this is going to break people. Audiences aren't just bracing for emotional scenes. They're preparing for a collapse. Because what's coming isn't just the climax of The Chosen, it's the climax of a story we thought we already knew. But this time, it feels personal. This time, we'll see the agony on faces we care about. We'll watch Peter run. We'll see Mary weep. We'll feel the silence of heaven. And through it all, Jesus, played by a man who's given everything, will walk straight into the suffering. Not with anger, not with resistance, but with love. And that's what makes this season so haunting. Because we'll be confronted not just by what Jesus endured, but by what it cost him to love a world that walked away. A world that still walks away. A world that includes us. Jonathan Roumie understands that. And that's why this role isn't just stretching him. It's undoing him. It's pushing him past the point of acting and into something sacred. Something dangerous. Something holy. This is no longer a performance, it's a surrender. There's a strange stillness surrounding Season 6 of The Chosen, not because nothing is happening, but because everyone involved knows exactly what's coming. There's a tension in the air, like standing in the quiet just before a storm breaks open. And for Jonathan Roumie, that storm isn't just coming, it's already here. He's reached the point of no return, physically, emotionally, spiritually. He's given all he has. And what he's facing now is not something an actor can rehearse. It's something a soul has to carry. Roumie is standing at the edge of Golgotha, both literally and metaphorically. He's about to portray a moment so sacred, so historically devastating, that every step onto that set feels like a step into holy ground. The crucifixion isn't just the climax of the show, it's the breaking point of the entire journey. And yet, it's not chaos behind the scenes, it's reverence. Dallas Jenkins and the crew are treating this not as content to be captured, but as something sacred to be revealed. The team has doubled down on everything. Production hours, night shoots, emotional preparation. The crucifixion will be filmed over several nights, entirely in the dark. Not just to look authentic, but because the darkness is part of the story. The emotional and spiritual darkness that falls when Jesus is taken. That's what they want us to feel. And it's not going to be softened. there are no shortcuts here. No easy scenes, no lighthearted moments to ease the tension. Every detail has been stripped down to the raw truth. The betrayal, the silence in the garden, the whip cracks, the agony of the cross. All of it will be there, but not to shock us, to change us. Because this season isn't trying to entertain, it's trying to reach us. Jonathan Roumie knows that. He's talked openly about how this role is transforming him, how he's had to let go of control, strip away pride, and rely completely on God. He said, "If I'm not trusting him, I'm not doing it right." That line echoes like a quiet prayer over this entire season. Because trusting God doesn't mean comfort, it means sacrifice. It means walking straight into pain without knowing how you'll make it through. And that's exactly what Roumie is doing. He's already said that this is the hardest thing he's ever done, and you can see it in the way he talks. There's no bragging, no dramatics, just quiet honesty. A man preparing to be broken in front of the world, not for attention, but for truth. This is what makes The Chosen Season 6 feel so different, so dangerous, so holy. The cross is coming, the pain is coming, but through it, something else is rising. This isn't a season of despair, it's a season of meaning. Because even in the darkness, even as we watch the disciples fall apart, even as the sky goes black, there's still something shining through. Love. Relentless, aching love. Love that doesn't flinch. Love that chooses the nails. And we're going to feel that, not because of the blood, but because of what's behind it. Because we've walked with these characters for years. We've cried with Mary. We've watched Peter grow and fail and try again. We've seen Jesus change their lives. And now, we're going to watch them lose him. But that's not the end. That's the moment that makes everything else matter. And that's what The Chosen is trying to show us. Not just the suffering, but the cost. Not just the death, but the decision. Jesus chose this path. He walked into the pain with eyes wide open. And now Jonathan Roumie, Dallas Jenkins, and the entire cast and crew are doing the same so that we, as viewers, can finally feel what that meant. This is not entertainment. It's an encounter, a collision between story and spirit. And when Season 6 hits the screen, especially the big screen, with 2 episodes coming to theaters, it won't just be something to watch. It'll be something to live through, to sit with, to carry. Jonathan Roumie said he hopes people will pray for him. Not because he's afraid of failing, but because he knows the responsibility he's carrying. He knows what this moment means. And now, so do we. So prepare yourself, not just for powerful performances or dramatic scenes. Prepare for a season that might leave you in silence, that might break your heart, that might bring you face to face with the cost of love. Because when the cross appears in The Chosen, it won't just be Jesus we see hanging there. It'll be every piece of ourselves, our fear, our failure, our doubt, laid bare. And that's where the story truly begins.